Sure.
Wade, you know, after the hurricane, and as a lot of workers were coming in from Mexico and other places, it seemed to me like it might make sense to put some construction organizers into RVs and go down there and, you know, work with whatever workers are there to try to make sure they're treated fairly. But I don't know if you got some insight into, would that have been a good idea? Would it have been helpful at all? Or
Remind me your name.
Kurt Stubbs?
Do I know you, Kurt?
Yeah.
I do.
I worked for you like 30 years ago.
Right. The name's finally coming back to me. You know, it turns out that things do go faster than the legs, Kurt, as you get older. So, you win some, you lose some. I made the case, very similar to what you're saying, Kurt, that this is a rare organizing opportunity.
Yeah.
There's a total vacuum. It's a classic situation where labor is in short supply. There's no organizing argument about unions. It doesn't say the advantage and opportunity to organize workers collectively doesn't increase exponentially when labor is in short supply. You can both name the wages and name the terms and conditions of employment. So in all the units we had that survived, we were immediately able to get huge increases because, and in fact, the joke was we'd won an issue to raise by, you know, a city minimum wage in New Orleans by $1 over the federal minimum wage that we ended up losing at the legislature and in court. And one of the jokes from city council people after the hurricane was every time they'd see me was, well, Wade, I guess you ended up winning that, you know, living wage thing after all, because you couldn't get anybody for less than $10 an hour. So yeah, ha, 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 look what we had to go through. Gallows humor, I think they call that, Kurt. So you could set the wages. I had, you know, people in janitorial jobs who went from $8 to $11 overnight because they couldn't get them to clean buildings. They couldn't, you know, so you had real opportunities. You know, I was just coming off the International Board of SEIU. 2004, I was doing the Walmart joint campaign for SEIU, the AFL, UFCW, and ACORN at the time the hurricane hit. Certainly knew Sweeney, certainly, and so I made the case, this is an organizing opportunity. I called the organizing director, everybody I could, everybody that came down to New Orleans and said, this is the time, put organizers in here. Let's go from where we were, 22, 23%, regardless of what's happening, and let's organize everybody. Construction jobs and the non-construction jobs, because you finally could have organized all the hospitality jobs. When I ran the Hot Rock campaign in 1996 to organize hospitality and hotel workers, we won a couple of hotels because there were building deals where we had political leverage, partially from ACORN, partially from this, that, and the other. But I said, this is the opportunity. They're dying for people who will wait tables, you know, dishwashers, anybody. Let's put people throughout the French Quarter. 138 hotels, only 50 of them are operating now. Boom. And I just couldn't get traction. Their strategy, unfortunately, was let's go in rebuilding. It was a construction trades-driven strategy. Let's go in now, here's an opportunity to try to make the individual home construction industry union. And I hate to get too much in the weeds of labor politics, but outside of some small patches of Seattle and efforts around Las Vegas, there is no, a little bit around New Jersey, there is no home construction building trade unionization. So what a crazy, but this is where they did it all based on the building, the AFL-CIO building and pension funds. They tried to go in like they were a big pension fund. We're a developer, we'll bring jobs, we'll do houses, there's construction, and none of that's been built. But that's where they put the resources, and none of it went into organizing. And I think we lost a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to take that particular situation and just, go union all the way, but we just didn't have the leadership and resources. And but I agree with you. That's one that still hurts, because now we're in a position where, like I say, we're 7 to 8 years. We've gone from highest union density to one of the lowest in the South. We're still trying to fight back. I'm still having elections, re-winning units I had before the storm. So. I think all you can do in a disaster is double down. I think if, there's like a one-sentence you know, summary of this book, and I'd almost apply it to anywhere, is when you're faced, you can either go backwards or put everything you can on win, and go for it. And that's unfortunately not what people were willing to do in a lot of situations. I think the fact that ACORN was able to raise, you know, millions almost overnight to do that, do 5,000 house gutting, this, that, and the other, made a huge difference in what we were able to do, but a lot of it didn't happen. Other questions? That was a good one. I'd like easier ones in the future.
Ooh, I don't know if I have.
Okay,
those.
go ahead.
I have a lot of them.
Yeah.
As you know. So, you know, after Springfield, what I was thinking was there needs to be like post-disaster organizing trainings that are available for communities that are going through this stuff, because, you know, being an organizer, it's just not part of the training that you ever have. And I'm wondering what, if you could envision what, you know, a more just post-disaster strategy would be. You know, if you could kind of prepare a community and unions and, you know, low-income folks for disaster, and be able to think like, okay, we know the organizations that are in place and what they don't do, and the ones that there are, kind of the mess they make of it. But what would be a more ideal disaster response?
Well, we didn't work out this question and answer before, but I mean, as you probably know, there's the appendix here is Lessons from Disaster, where I go specifically page by page, exactly what you need, in my view, and what lessons I draw, what you need to do differently as an organizer. You know, I don't think there's going to all of a sudden be a post-disaster training, you know, module out there for people. One, because, you know, nobody ever thinks a disaster is going to happen to them, so I'm not sure who would pony up a couple $100s to go do it, or buy the, you know, come to New Orleans or whatever. But I think there's these same lessons keep duplicating over and over again. Here's a blueprint, you know, buy the book, take it and run. You know, but you and I actually talked after the disaster several times, and I talked to a number of people you put together on the phone, and it was one of those situations where no matter how many times I volunteered, hey, I'd be glad to come up here, you know, I'm a eat what you kill guy now. I'm a Mr. Self-Sufficiency, so I get a ticket, I'm flying, but it's not like we have, you know, resource, there's no ACORN. It's not like I can, it's an adjustment. You don't all of a sudden book the flight and then you worry about how to pay it later. You pay it up front. You know, it's just a different way the world works. Mr. Debbie Downer here. I like the more upbeat side of the answers I was giving. I'm not liking it. Go ahead.